Выстрел! Стрел! Выстрел!
Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Eagle One channel. The 2S7 Pion, or Malka, is a Soviet-made self-propelled 203mm gun intended to suppress rear-line posts, destroy critical facilities, and as a means of a nuclear attack. In a tactical depth of 47 km, it was widely used in the Soviet Union and has been dubbed the most powerful howitzer in the world. So far, between 500 and 1,000 units have been built. In the 1950, the first Soviet artillery systems armed with nuclear warheads were the two B-1 and 2 of 3 self-propelled guns. But these systems were cumbersome and not agile enough to meet the Soviet Army requirements. By the spring of 1967, Soviet Army came up with a preliminary design request for a new heavy-duty self-propelled artillery unit based on the tank object 434 and a wooden mock-up. The result was fully enclosed, with a conning tower made by the OKB-2 Design Bureau, but it received negative feedback from the representatives of the Ministry of Defense. On December 1967, research studies began to determine the shape and the best basic characteristics of the new self-propelled gun. Object Tube 116 was a prototype for a Soviet 203mm self-propelled gun artillery for the Supreme Command. It was developed at the Leningrad Kirov Barricade plant, and the chief designer of the chassis was N. Popov. G.I. Sarjev developed the 203mm 244 howitzer. The final design was approved in July 1970, and in 1973, the tactical and technical requirements were approved. The required gun range was 35 km, and it could fire 110 kg HE rounds, as well as the nuclear 3VB2 D4M special ammunitions. The 216 SP2 was built from 1973 to 1974, leading to 2 prototypes, 2-7, sent to the testing grounds at Struga Red. In 1975, the 2S7 was officially adopted by the Soviet Army, and in 1977, supplies of nuclear ammunition were received. The 203M self-propelled gun is designated M1975 by U.S. Army, although its correct Russian designation is SO203 and GRIU is 2S7. It entered service with the Soviet Army in the late 1970, and it is the world's largest full-track self-propelled gun. Within the Russian Army, it is also known as the Pion. The chassis is a new design with a fully enclosed armored cab front, engine to immediate rear, and 203mm cannon mounted on top at the far end of the hull. No protection for the gun crew from small arms fire, shell splinters, or NBC agents. When in firing position, a large, hydraulically operated spade is lowered at the rear for more projectile in charge. Load assist device on the right side of chassis. In action, it is accompanied by another vehicle carrying the remainder of the gun crew and ammunition. The 203M artillery has a traverse of 15 degrees left and right, with elevation from 0 degrees to plus 60 degrees. The maximum range, firing an unassisted projectile, is 37.5 km. While firing a rocket-assisted ammunition, a maximum range of 47 km can be achieved. The basic design is based on the T-80 chassis, modified to carry an externally mounted A44 203mm gun. It has hydraulic spades at the rear, used to moderate or stop the recoil when firing. The commander, gunner, and driver/mechanic are seated in the front driver's compartment, with circular roof hatches and day periscopes in addition to the folding shutters. Just behind the engine is the secondary crew compartment, which the remaining 4 crew members can access through 2 circular roof hatches. The cannon was derived from an existing heavy gun with a caliber of 203mm. It can fire a 110-kilogram projectile to a maximum firing range of 37.5 to 47.5 kilometre and at a maximum rate of fire of 1.5. The gun has 0 to plus 60 degrees elevation and a limited traverse of 30 degrees. It can fire ordinary HAFRA GZO F-43 rounds containing 17.8 kilogram of explosives or rocket-assisted projectiles to reach the 47-kilometer range. The average maximum muzzle velocity is 960 meters. Despite the crew being carried by the vehicle, only 4 of the 8 ammunitions rounds have to be taken separately. This self-propelled gun was intended to fire 1 or 2 rounds before leaving for another firing position, even before the first round hits the target, 47 kilometers away. A shoot-and-scoot capability to avoid counter-battery fire. Protection for the crew front compartment was assured against small arms fire and shell splinters on the frontal arc, but the operating crew, either mounted or on foot, was not. Individual armament comprised several Kalashnikov and a single MANPAD. The front compartment was also provided with an NBC system of the overpressure type, a heater, and night vision equipment. There was also a 24-8 P9 R46 U2 auxiliary power unit. The gun operator was seated at the vehicle's rear on the left side and given a PG-1M panoramic day telescope plus a K1 kilometre. The V46i V12 liquid-cooled diesel engine is coupled to an 8-speed manual transmission. It is located to the rear of the front driving compartment, while the rear chassis was dedicated to the weapon system. The suspension consists of 7 dual rubber tire road wheels plus 6 track return rollers per side. The drive sprocket was at the front and the idler at the rear. Shock absorbers are installed on all but the 4, 3, and 5 through-road wheel stations. The deployment procedure involves lowering the chassis and deploying the hydraulic rear recoil spades. The top speed is 50 km per hour with about a 600 km range. It can overcome a trench of 2.5 meters and a vertical step of 70 centimeters. 2 S7M Malka, also known as the Pion ME, had the R173 communications equipment and could carry 8 203mm projectiles and charges. The rate of fire was increased to 2.5 per minute. BTM-4 trench digger based on Pion chassis. In 1997, the engineering trench digger BTM-4M Tundra was commissioned. After 1990, the Kirov plant carried out a conversion program from its military technology, and the 2S7 was also turned into civil engineering. In 1994, the SGK-80 crane appeared, and its modernized version, SGK-80RR, came out in 1998. They weigh 65 tons with a lifting capacity of up to 80 tons. The CM100 was also designed to manage railroad maintenance and rescue operations after disasters. 2S7 Pion is in service with the Czech Republic, Poland, Russia, and Slovakia. Probably there are some units in other former Soviet republics. It is relatively easy to use, and according to the available information, the well-trained crew can enter the action in 5 to 6 minutes and 3 to 5 minutes to come out of action. It was first used during the Soviet campaign in Afghanistan. Some of them were seen during the conflict in Georgia in 2008. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, both sides deployed two S-7M versions. Thank you for watching. Give your opinion in the comments section.